They are the heroes of 9/11, but has America forgotten them? More than a decade after the attacks, many first responders are struggling with health issues linked to toxic exposure from the site of the collapse. Since then, some 1,300 people have reportedly died from 9/11 related illnesses. CCTV's Liling Tan reports on the fight for their lives and their livelihoods.
The aftermath of 9/11, tens of thousands of responders braved the dust and dangers to rescue, recover and rebuild. But 11 years later, and some 50 miles away in Long Island, New York, the smiles on the faces of these 9/11 responders mask a decade-long struggle for their own recovery. 48-year-old former city worker Ken George was involved in the search and rescue. Now he has to take 33 pills a day to function.
I got like 5 for the heart, there's 6 for the post-traumatic stress, there's pills for the lungs, there's the steroids, then there's the inhalers, you know, and you add it up, it's a lot of medications I take. I even asked the doctors too. I asked them, I said, would I have been this sick if 9/11 never happened? And they turned around and said, no. All my illnesses that I have stems from 9/11, you know? Since my lungs were so bad that I couldn't breathe, and all the steroids they gave me, you know, caused my heart to pump harder, which caused me to have a heart attack on top of that.
4 in 5 9/11 responders suffer from ailments including respiratory illnesses and cancer, says advocate group Feel Good Foundation. Conditions blamed on exposure to ground zero toxins, including asbestos. Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, is also a common condition within that group. Retired police officer Chris BAUMANN considered suicide after jet fuel blinded him for months. Faced with health issues, his dreams of a comfortable life for his family evaporated.
I knew I was done. My future was over. Everything I had planned had just gone down the toilet. And I just didn't want to be here anymore. Both my kids were, you know, they saw Dad, the cop, the hero, the protector, you know, knocked down to somebody who was crying at night and screaming at night, and the whole world's crashed about them.
Everything changed.
Everything changed. Everything.
Precancerous polyps plagued both Chris and Glenn KLEIN, who served with the New York Police Department's Emergency Services Unit. He says he's getting proper care from the World Trade Center Medical Monitoring Program, but more needs to be done for responders fighting cancer.
Cancer care is probably one of the most expensive types of medical care that you can get. It can cost you hundreds of thousands, if not a couple of $1 million a year for chemotherapy and radiation, surgery, so on and so forth. So I know people that have lost their homes, people who have actually lost their families because of the stress related to not having money to even feed your family.
That's where the Feel Good Foundation comes in. Founded by John Feel, a construction supervisor injured at Ground Zero after a steel beam crushed half his foot. Where pension workers' compensation and Social Security disability failed to sufficiently provide, his organization stepped in with donations and moral support. But it also helped drive federal legislation. Notably, there's a DROGA bill to allocate $4.3 billion over 5 years to 9/11 responders.
The healthcare part of the bill, which is $1.5 billion of that 4.3, has been up and running for over a year. It's doing its job. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Until cancer is officially added, which we expect to be in the next couple of weeks, there has been no compensation paid out because nobody knows how much the cancers are going to cost.
The 4 responders were divided on whether Americans have forgotten the heroes of 9/11, but they agreed the government needs to do more. This, after all, was an attack on the U.S., says Feel, and people from every state came to help, then went home and got sick. Here at this memorial site across the Hudson River and juxtaposed against a Manhattan skyline forever altered lie a steel beam and a statue retrieved from the rubble of the Twin Towers attacks. Now, 11 years later, these serve as one of many reminders of the sacrifices made by first responders, many of whom continue to pick up the pieces. Liling Tan, CCTV, New York.